Let me ask the server sir to introduce Sam, his topic, very important topic of Sam. And we had a lot of good discussion a couple of days back. Over to server sir to handle the rest of the two speakers, please. Server sir? If not,
yes, sir. Yes, I am here. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Zabta Khan Sahib. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Sam Mathew. And Dr. Sam Mathew is a researcher turned scholarly publishing professional who has worked with an array of institutions and companies, including academic institutions, pharmaceutical companies, medical journals, publishing houses, medical writing agencies, and freelance writing firms. Dr. Sam.
Hello, hi everyone.
Yes, please, Dr. Sam. Now.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Server, for your kind introduction. So I think I'm audible and my screen is visible.
Yes.
Okay. So thank you everyone, and welcome to the session on impact metrics in scholarly publications. Do they really encompass the impact of science? Probably my presentation will complement Dr. Ghazi's remarks, which he made in his talk. I, of course, think that this is a quite valid question that is lingering in the minds of many journal editors, researchers, academicians, and especially those from the middle income countries or those who cannot afford to obtain the so-called impact-based matrices. Of course, research impact of a researcher is especially important in obtaining research funding, career development, etc. So the question is quite relevant, reasonable, and it actually deserves an unbiased analysis of the situation. A quick disclaimer, I work somewhere else, but whatever I speak here is my own opinion. It has nothing to do with the associations or the journals or the organization which I am employed with. Quick agenda. So the main objective of this presentation is to basically understand the pitfalls of currently available metrics and to conclude with certain suggestions. So during this presentation, we will see why to perform a research or why to publish a research and what is the impactful research and how to measure research impact and different matrices for research impact. As I mentioned earlier, we will not go in details of the different research metrics, that means the methodology and science behind them, but we will only have a very high level information about that. So we will also see the difference between the bibliometrics and kind of altmetrics, which is definitely a new term, which I think most of us are familiar with, that is recently been introduced. We'll also see a little bit about that. Why to perform or publish your research? This is an important question, which is actually asked by many people, by yourself when you are a student, when you are a researcher, or when you are about to publish a paper. And the result shown here is a 30-year-old survey, but I think the findings are still very relevant. So at least more than 50% of the researchers mentioned that they do research and publish their research findings basically to disseminate the knowledge. That's a quite interesting finding, that because when people want to publish or disseminate knowledge, that means they would like to create an impact to the society. What do you mean by impactful research? There are many standard definitions on impactful research given by multiple reputed research institutes like NIH, National Science Foundation, UK Research Excellence, and Australian Research Council. But if you clearly look at those definitions, you will be able to identify a couple of keywords that actually define the impact of science. Look at those keywords: substantial and long-lasting effects on the science and the society, well-being of the people, benefits to the economy, and improvements in the public society. How do you measure research impact? Please understand what are the definitions and the keywords and see that whether the current research impact measure metrics, do they complement to the actual definitions? There are different ways to measure the impact of research. The most conventional way is to solicit expert opinion or peer review feedback. And the most popular one to measure the impact of research is the citations, that actually include citations of your research publications in your different research journals, and patents, and then licenses. Again, with the advent of internet and digital, and we call it as web 2, there are many other ways also being experimented to check the impact of research, such as altmetrics, and the usage of the document, the number of downloads, the number of views, etc. So there are multiple aspects of the research. The way the researcher behave on online is also being noticed. What is the different metrics that are available to measure the impact of published research? It can be measured by multiple ways. Some of these metrics provide articles or author level information, and some of them provide journal level information only. Majority of the metrics are used basically to assess the significance of academic research, and they use the citation based data. Some important journal metrics that assess the journal reputation are JCR impact factor, SCImago, then the H index, the site score, etc. There are also article level or author level metrics. They are basically introduced as an attempt to prevent the abuse of journal impact factor. I know that we all have different opinion about the journal impact factor, which is a commercial product of Clarivate Analytics. So article level or author level metrics such as H index, I10 index, E index are basically used by the researchers to identify interdisciplinary research possibilities by identifying who is referencing and utilizing their work from other fields. All these metrics are generated and by using approaches and data from different diverse sources. So they all use different methodologies. Sometimes these methodologies overlap, but they definitely use different sources to collect those data. Let's see some of the article citation trackers, which I'm sure that you all are aware of all the three major article citation trackers, that is Web of Science, Scopus, and Google Scholar. I'm sure that Web of Science, which is a commercial product of Clarivate Analytics, is one of the widely used, and which is supposed to be the more premier and prominent article citation tracker worldwide. At times there are inaccurate, but at the same time this has lots of inaccurate citations and the author names are misspelled. So Web of Science has a lot of disadvantages. Google Scholar also has a wide range of content, very extensive, but they are not very exhaustive. And sometimes you also would have experienced that the search results are not very consistent. There are inconsistencies due to the maybe due to the high sensitivity, because as soon as it is available on the public domain, Google Scholar immediately catches it. But at times we also felt that there is some kind of transparency issues with the Google Scholar, wherein which we do not know why certain articles are missing, and the actual date of adding them to the database is not clearly known, or sometimes it is erroneous. Another important one what we have come across is Scopus. So this is basically from Elsevier, has definitely a wide range of databases, but when compared to the Web of Science, but the citation tracking is only possible from around 1996. NIH also have introduced a new citation tracker or a citation index that is called as, that is a relative citation ratio, which is still not being used very significantly by the research community. H index, hope we all are aware of H index, and we all are looking for our H index every now and then. This is published by all three online platforms that we have seen, that is Web of Science, Google Scholar, and Scopus, and basically calculated by counting the number of publications for which the author has been cited by other authors at least the same number of times. This actually eliminates the outlier publication that might distort the actual citation impact of an author. That means this will not consider the articles that are cited very low or articles that are cited very high. This may be considered also as a disadvantage. And also the Google, this H index also has a lot of disadvantages, which are big concerns for the academic fraternity, because this is one index which is used by many of the academicians or academic institutes to measure the impact of their researchers. First and foremost disadvantage for the H index is this is not very useful for early career researchers. And this is highly prone to self-citation manipulation. The review articles get more citations and than the original research, which is a inherent disadvantage of any citation-based metrics. And this is not very sensitive. It is not possible to have a head-to-head comparison with different researchers because of the varied the citation habits or among different fields of research, and they do not consider the number of authors in an author tagline. Sometimes it is also very difficult to get the whole list of publication of an author who have very common name. So for example, if I search with my name to understand my H index, I'll see multiple other people with the name Sam and Mathew coming into my list of papers. It's very difficult to differentiate and to recalculate the H index. Let's see G, E, and 10 indices. So E index is actually introduced to complement the H index in such a way that it focuses highly cited papers. It actually helps better evaluation of the researchers with differential total citations, but have a similar H index. And similar to E index, G index is also introduced as an improvement to the H index. That helps to differentiate researchers with identical H index, similar to what you have seen for E index. That means it considers highly cited papers beyond I value, H value, and G index is available at publish or perish website, which is easily, which is not a proprietary. You can always use their subscriptions, which is not subscription based. And I10 index is a free, simple to comprehend and easy to calculate metric introduced by Google Scholar. This is nothing but the number of publication with at least 10 citation. We're very simple metrics, but that also adds some value. Let's look at some other matrices which are currently being used, like author profile, scolarometer, and page rank index. And of course, with the advent of this internet or the web too, there are opportunities for the authors to create their profiles online in all these platforms. These author profiles helps the author to establish their research identity, as these websites automatically capture your paper when it goes online. And page rank index, which I think some of you are aware of, this is helpful to differentiate at early career researchers and researchers with few but highly cited publications. But the calculation of page rank is very difficult and very complex, and this actually uses Google's page rank algorithm. I still find it very difficult to understand how they actually do it, because I'm not a technical guy who really understand the arithmetics which go behind this. In most cases, the values are heavily reliant on the visibility and the marketing. That's what it happens. We have heard about Dr. Charlie talking about how do they market and ensure that the H index or the impact of the researchers or the journals will be improved. So such areas, the Google page rank index or the page rank index will definitely give better visibility for those researchers. Again, Scolarometer is a social platform that actually facilitate the citation analysis. This is available as a browser extension, which is to be integrated with the Google Scholar. So you need to just add a tag an author with his specific research field, then it will automatically bring up the person's Scolarometer indexes. Impact factor, a very highly debated topic with everyone. So this is a proprietary of Clarivate Analytics. They publish us a set of journal citation metrics. The umbrella of this is called as Journal Citation Report, JCR, and Journal Impact Factor is one of that metrics. This actually measures the frequency with which an average article in a journal has been cited in a particular period. And Clarivate Analytics publishes this every 2 years and now every 5 years. And at the same time, this has been, even though the journal impact factor provides a quantitative evidence to position the journal in relation to its competition, it's very, very unlikely that it is accepted by the all classes of academia, because it has lots of pitfalls which are being discussed very seriously by the scholarly community, scholarly publishing community. The first and foremost, the statistical validity of the methodology, whether to use the mean or median value, very simple thing itself is still under question. And journal impact factor is only for journals that are indexed in Web of Science with at least 2 or at least 3 years of publication history. And it includes research articles. It includes only research articles and reviews. And as we have seen, review articles tend to receive more citations than the original articles, and it may manipulate or contaminate the whole data. And at times, the process of exclusion of articles are complex and not very transparent. And difference in the citation behavior of different fields of researcher is also not being accommodated in the impact factor. We have another one that is called site score, which is this is also similar to the journal impact factor. This also has some limitations, such as it's a proprietary of Elsevier through Scopus, and it needs at least 3-year citation window to be included in the site score. At the same time, this has many advantages over other citation metrics. It considers all document type, not just research or review articles. And the site score is available as soon as they first index in the Scopus. That means it's very dynamic. You can always check at the Scopus website, and it's dynamically changing. And as soon as you have a new paper, the site score keeps changing. And the process is very transparent than the impact factor. Again, debatable. I don't think the fans of impact factor may not accept it, but still, this is what is being commonly told. An important and reasonably good impact metrics is Snip, that is source normalized impact per paper. This actually works on the same principle of site score, but the benefit of Snip is that actually it accounts for the field specific differences in citation practices. This actually helps people to have a head-to-head comparison of the research impact of different researchers. Again, a Snip is also a property of Elsevier, and which is available through Scopus. The Simago Journal and Country SJR and the Eugene Impact Factor are another two important impact matrices. SJR is completely free, and that uses an algorithm which is actually similar to the PageRank. This website is quite user friendly, and it gives an opportunity to select open access, Web of Science, and SciELO only journals. So these are not very specific to a database. And SJR is based on the assumption that not all citations are equal. That means it assigns a weighted average value to the citations depending on the prestige of the journal that it comes from. Again, we need to put that into inverted commas. What is that prestige? How they define it, etc., are still a part of controversy. It basically categorizes journals into different quarters, that is Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. In which Q1 is considered to be the highest ranking journal and Q4 the least. And SJR is widely accepted by academicians, especially from Asia, and many universities expect people to publish paper in Q1, Q2, or Q3. I will not go much detail in the Eugene factor. It has some main disadvantages that it actually eliminates the issue of self-citation, but not very commonly used by any of the academia or publishing industry. As that we have seen, multiple impact factors, multiple impact matrices that are used to measure the impact of a research or a researcher. We have seen the advantages and the disadvantages. So the most of the things that we have seen currently are based on the citation metric that is called bibliometrics. And this bibliometrics is based on the assumption that citations are affirmative responses to the scholarly publishing that are good indicators of quantitative assessment of the quality research. As we have already seen, there are multiple indices which are created by different firms and they uses from various sources. There are major concerns. There are many major concerns for these bibliometrics. It takes years to get indexed, and the waiting period to get indexed or to include in the assessment is 2 to 3 years. There is inter-subject disparities, so that head-to-head comparison of different researchers may not be possible. And some of them are not useful for scientists at all career levels. Some of them even have methodological flaws, as we have seen, mean or median, and inconsistency in the type of articles to be included. Not all the articles are included in many of the matrices, and there is a language disparity. And because most of these indices are mainly focused on journals that are or articles that are published in English, and all these are prone to self-citation manipulation. There is inconsistent retrieving data from certain databases, as I have discussed with Google Scholar, and some of them are subscription based and may not be affordable to all the researchers. Based on the recent advancements in internet and digital, an alternative metrics is introduced that is called altmetrics. There are two major web platforms that are involved in this altmetrics. So one could be the content platform where research findings of the publications are uploaded, and the second would be the social media where research findings of the publications are shared for information exchange, saving, or analysis. So these two platforms are very important in implementing altmetrics or identifying metrics based on the researchers' behavior in online for their research activities. Altmetrics actually collect data in different categories. That means the shares, downloads, comments, customization, the social usage, whether the research set aside an article for further reading, discussed in the research world, recommended to someone, etc. All these categories or activities of a researcher is being tracked and collected by altmetrics.
Dr. Sam, can you conclude in next 2 or 3 minutes?
Yes, I'm going to conclude this now in another 2 minutes. Yeah, and since these are online and they are internet based, they are quite faster and they reach a larger audience within short period. So Plumax Metrics is another example of an altmetrics. I'm not going into details of that, but again, it uses the citation, utilization, capture, and mentions and social media. All these categories has been scanned by the Plumax Metrics, which is currently part of Elsevier. To conclude, current impact metrics are far from ideal. The stakeholders should interpret the ratings based on the pros and cons of the available metrics. And most of the current impact metrics are part of commercial institutions, and definitely there is a need for commercially independent or collaborated indexes with editorial or the government bodies or non-profit organization like Asian Council of Science Editors. One must also understand that the impact of science and search efforts are beyond just publications. This is what Dr. Ghazi was insisting in his talk. Metrics only approach may not capture big social impact on economic technologies and the innovative and advancements. The data that we have reviewed has actually shown that there is a need for new instruments to assess impact of research. Definitely, there should be an objective method to measure the impact of research. Of course, altmetrics is promising, but the innovative approach to amalgamate or an amalgamation of altmetrics, bibliometrics, and the social impact should also be considered by the research fraternity to ensure the actual or realistic measurement of research impact for the researchers and the journals. Thank you very much. Thank you for your patient listening.
Dr. Sam, we have